Do you want to come in on that issue as well?
Do you know, I have to agree with Tab. I feel like she's looked at my notes. She's saying what I'm saying, I was going to say, but definitely the education side of it. And when we're talking education on a local basis and also on a national basis, I think it's very important that our actions on a local basis are able to be mirrored on a national basis. It's one thing for me as an individual to want to do something to protect the environment, and then someone else is doing the total opposite. Is one thing for me to say, you know what, I'm going to walk to work today so that I can save the environment, and then someone else who's saying, well, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to drive, I'm going to fly, and instead of walking the 10 minutes, I'm just going to take my car there. So I think it takes a collective. We have to understand, first of all, apart from me just saying this is the definition of what a global citizen is, people need to understand from their own perspective what it is and what they can do to actually make the necessary changes, and also being able to engage, embrace and learn about other cultures and the diversity within Scotland. Scotland is extremely diverse, and because of that diversity comes a lot of knowledge, and we can utilize the knowledge to be able to absolutely make Scotland boom, you know. But again, it goes back to being able to have these conversations with people on the ground, and advocating for education from different perspectives. I advocated for education, especially through multiculturalism, and to raise global awareness from the ground up.
So you've both talked about education. You actually work at Glasgow Caledonian. You're at Glasgow Uni in your other day job. So there's something about education that's coming up, and about young people in particular. So are we thinking schools, colleges, universities? You've also mentioned social media. Do you want to just continue that point there, Maya?
I'm definitely going to say, you know, I've had this conversation in the past with people when we talk about Scotland's involvement in the transatlantic slave trade, and it's a conversation that seems to happen, and people think that we should have this conversation at secondary school because they think, you know, it's only palatable to kids at secondary school level, whereas I think these are conversations that we need to start having at preschool. We need to have these conversations so that kids are already engaging in this conversation, so that when they go to primary school, they have an understanding of what it is, and then when they do go to secondary school, it's easy to pick up on the subject because they already know what it's about, and it's a subject that they have grown up with, just as you would teach about history of any other thing. Don't miss out on this other part of history, but from a very young age, because I think once you get to 12, 13, you try to introduce them. It's really difficult to try and get through to young people when they've got to a certain stage. They already know what they want to do or have an idea of what subjects they want to do and the kind of way they're going. But if you start at a stage where we're talking preschool level, I'm an EYP, so if you're talking from a preschool level and you start having those conversations, they're not only having the conversations at school, they're then going home and having the conversations and having conversations with parents and grandparents. And there's a lot of history that's hidden there, but because we're not having these conversations with our young kids at that stage, we're missing history from stories from grandparents and uncles and aunts. We're missing all that. So I think the education level, it doesn't need to wait until secondary school and university to be having these big conversations. We can have them so that it's palatable to the young children.